Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host Omar, and we talk about leadership in the boutique retail world. What does that mean? We're talking about smaller companies. Typically, you're running with a manager and maybe anywhere from two to, if you're lucky, 6 to 7 employees on your sales team. Oftentimes, you're running with a manager and maybe 2 to 4 employees. Okay, this is focused on you. This is where most of retail America is at, right? We're talking small and mid-sized companies here. And today's conversation, we're going to talk about the compensation plan, okay? And I don't care if it's a Friday or Saturday. If you're not talking compensation, if you're not breaking down the comp plan and making it super easy where people can truly understand how much they can make and reinforce how much they can make and how they can make it, you're not helping your team with anything. Okay? Because I get it. A lot of your companies are offering base plus a commission, and the base is a joke. Let's be fair. Okay? In our day and age, the base that most companies offer is a joke. We make the majority of that income from commission. And when your sellers aren't performing, it's because they don't understand the compensation. They're having issues, they're having trouble truly breaking it down and realizing it into what they could do. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Okay, if you can't teach your team how to grow their paychecks in 30 minutes, you don't have a comp plan. You have a mystery. I don't care if they know the pay plan. If they're not performing, they still don't understand the pay plan. The knowing and understanding needs to be bridged together. How does it work? How does it relate? How can I, as a seller, actually make that a reality? Okay? And oftentimes, you can do it very easily by doing quick trainings, okay? You can do a simple 15 to 30 minute training and make it super, super easy for your team to understand this, okay? You have to pick something that's gonna help drive the business forward for them and for the company. You don't want your sellers focusing on the items that are not gonna bring in the most amount of revenue possible, okay? I don't want my sellers focusing on accessories when that's not going to bring in the most profitability into the organization. I want them focusing on things that are actually going to drive a bigger bundle. That's what I want them to focus on. So when I talk compensation, we're going to talk about how we can bundle around that and how we can bridge it. And we're in sales, guys. Nothing is going to work 100% of the time. Nothing is foolproof. We need, as leaders, to break it down to our team members and let them understand that, hey, if it gives you an edge, if it gives you one or two more opportunities than you would have had before, that is an edge. That means that, as you guys know, my favorite quote is 60% of the time, it works all the time. If you know what movie that's from, let me know in the comments, okay? 60% of the time, it works all the time. And that sells. That's all we need. But we need to make it a reality for them, and we need to help bridge it to them. We need to help bring them to the water. We can't force them to drink the water, but we can make it super easy where they can come and actually see it. And when you can do that, you have something that's repeatable. You can train up your future leaders to do this so that they themselves can actually do it as well. And it's super, super easy. And it is one of the most wonderful feelings to have when you start developing others to become leaders, whether within your organization or whether you don't have the opportunities available, so they jump ship and go somewhere else. I'm never going to fault an employee. I'm never going to fault a team member for leaving the organization because they want growth when we're not able to offer them that growth. Okay? So don't have that mindset because that's going to hold your team back. If you're not allowing them to be able to replace you, you're holding your team back. Don't be afraid of getting replaced by your team members. I've always told my people, I'm training you to replace me because when the opportunity arises and I can move up, I need somebody who can hold it down here and not only keep things at the level that they were at before, but can continue to grow upon what we have here because that's my legacy. And if I leave and they can't perform it, then I failed as a leader. Okay, so you don't want to have that on you and uh, on your legacy, okay, your reputation. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, pick a driver that's going to be profitable. not just for the company, but also for the seller so that they can understand. Okay. It could be an additional add on, things like protection, things like warranty. Okay. It could be additional premium upgrades. Okay, for instance, with AT&T, they have the Next Up Anytime, which is a great deal for a lot of people that like to swap out and trade up to the newer devices as soon as they can, right? But getting them to understand what that means and how they can actually really focus it and translate that to reality for how their clients, how their customers are going to actually benefit from that, and how that connects to their paycheck. Because at the end of the day, they're not talking about the things they don't feel comfortable with because they don't understand it. And that's what you need to bridge on the compensation with their knowledge. We need to understand where they're not grasping it. Guys, remember, it's going to take time for them to be able to grasp everything. And how much they grasp is also directly correlated to the type of training or lack of training that they have. Super, super important to understand that. And you also have to be able to define what success means to them in plain math. You can break it down, okay? What does it mean in dollars for them on their commission? Because a lot of times they don't understand that they can easily make an additional $2,000 to $3,000 a month in their commissions through their compensation. But because they're not offering this stuff, they're lacking. So they're not getting those accelerators if your company has accelerators, or they're not taking advantage of the additional spiffs that are coming in or the additional contests that are being offered by the manufacturers or the vendors that we're getting things from. And that is super important for them to truly grasp. So you as a leader need to ensure that they're constantly understanding and knowing what's available, what's there. And listen, you're going to have your SMEs, right? Your subject matter experts that are very great at specific, and I'm talking to, you guys in the AV world, in the appliances, in furniture. You have your SMEs that are very, very, reliable in certain, either when it comes to certain product categories or certain brands. So you have to make sure that they understand it. Because if I have somebody who's really great at this category, am I really going to force them to another one? I'm going to want them to learn it, yes, but I'm not going to force them to do it during the busier hours because I want to make sure that they are maximizing what they're maximizing on, because that also means that I'm going to be focusing on maximizing my stuff. But when I'm forcing them on the busier times to focus on the things that they're not great at and they start to struggle, that means less sales for them and less profitability for us in the organization. But I'm also not going to keep them just there because there's more opportunity somewhere else. But it's going to take them time to be able to grasp and develop that as well. But the beautiful thing is they already know how to be able to do that. They just need that bridge in the knowledge gap and the compensation gap. Super easy to do, guys. Okay. And you want to make sure you have tools to be able to put this all together, right? Whether that's, visual whiteboard in the fucking back room to break things down for the contest, or, to make sure you're tracking things down, okay? Because not everybody, here's the thing, guys. Everybody wants to go digital. I get it. I am one of those guys that does as much as I can digitally. There are certain things that still need to be done super easily, and digital doesn't always mean easy, especially when you have multiple channels where they have to log in to check, where they have to go to a different channel to be able to check. Like, it doesn't make things easy. Having one area where they can easily log in, see where they're at for the day, right? Their store, themselves, whatever. See where they're at for the month. That kind of stuff makes it super easy. And I get it. As a leader, that might not be within your wheelhouse. That might not be something that you can make possible. But those are little things that do help in the long run. Okay? But you can't force everything on your sellers. When we have multiple areas where we have to gather information, as a leader, that falls on us to bring it all together to be able to show it to them. Because when they don't know, or it's too much and they're still trying to task everything else and take care of everything else, it just, information and task overload. So we have to force that, and we have to get above and beyond that to make it super easy so that they can just grab the information and be able to take off and go with it. So that's what we want to focus on. That's what we want to do. We want to make those tools as easy as possible for them. Okay, guys? Now, as a manager, as a leader, you have to facilitate the trainings. You have to facilitate these coaching sessions. You might not think that it's important, but I am telling you, it is the most important thing that you can do as a leader, because it also means that your team feels valued for what they're doing, for how they're performing, how they can become better at what they're doing. And that's what we want to ensure we're really getting after. Okay, guys? Uh, and you can do, right, whether it's a simple 30-minute training session or a 15-minute training session, you want to make sure you go in and you have an idea of how you're going to run the coaching. These are the three categories. You don't want to focus on more than three on anything, because more than three items that we need to focus on is already information overload. There's a psychology behind the number three, right? There's a psychology about doing three things, focusing on three things. And it just works, okay? So you don't want to go against the grain on this particular thing. You might say, Omar, but I want to focus on, yeah, you can focus on multiple things. But when it comes to these specific trainings, pick three that are going to be your pillars. Pick three that are going to be the keystone habits. And even among the three, you're going to focus on just one that's really going to drive the rest of them, okay? So you want to first break things down to clarity. Do you understand the pay plan? Like, where are we missing the pay plan? I see that we're underperforming in certain categories. When they're underperforming in certain categories, it's not, oh, customers don't want to buy this. There's a bridge, there's a knowledge gap, right? We're not bridging that knowledge somewhere. So that should be an instant we know. We just need them to bring it up and get that clarity on what exactly it is that they're missing. Because we may have an idea, but our idea of what they're missing isn't the point. We're missing the target. So you, as a leader, need to get it out of them. What are we missing? What are we not doing that's having you miss this? We need to focus on this, and we're going to continue focusing on this until you get better, okay? And that's what we want to do. Whether it's actually doing trainings and getting them like to truly understand the differences, or breaking things down in a simpler, easier manner, okay? Depending on where you're at with, what industry you're in, determines like the kind of training it's going to come down to that you're going to focus on, right? Whether it's a simple, all right, we just got to walk through and get you to understand how to be able to bridge this. Maybe it's how you're bringing it up, right? Maybe it's how you're bridging your different connections together when you're talking to a customer about a certain product category and then moving to a different one, or just bringing it up. We got to talk about your bridging statements. It could be something as simple as that. It could be knowledge gap, like actual knowledge gap on the product or the service themselves that they don't truly understand, that's making that wall, okay? So we got to break that down somehow. And once you have, and it's super easy, okay, this is what we're going to focus on. How are you going to focus on this? Break it down for me. What else are we going to focus on? What else are we going to do? What else? Simple as that, okay? And go on to the next one. And same thing. You're breaking things down, and once they've broken the first one down and kind of gotten over that hump, it makes it easier to really get after the next ones, to really focus after the additional items, okay? And that's what we want to get after, little by little. Because once you break those limiting beliefs, because that's really what it is, guys. The knowledge gaps are limiting beliefs, and we're helping them overcome those limiting beliefs. But you have to spend time to do it so that they understand that you, as a leader, value how they are doing as an individual, and also value their time, because you want them to become better. You're investing time and energy to train and coach them up. And that's what we want them to understand. We want them to succeed. They are not a spaghetti against the wall type of scenario. Okay? That is what we want to focus on. Now, from there, you want to help reinforce what you were talking about. You want to hold them to what they're saying they're going to do. And a simple way to do it, guys, right? You can use like the when, I will, because statements. And you can easily grab that from the 15-minute coaching forms and be able to use that. And it makes it super easy because now you have something that you can hold them to. And once again, I'm not talking about write-ups. I'm talking about this is what you're saying you're going to hit. I'm going to do everything I can to get you there, to help you get there, support you to get there. I am not going to feed you cells. I'm going to help you get there by supporting you. If you're struggling, I'll help in and jump in, okay? If you're missing certain things, we can go and do a couple of role play sessions. We can break this down to make it easier and find a way that works for you. And that's what we want to get after, okay? So focus on doing check-ins, checkpoints. I'm going to follow up with you in a few days, see how we're doing, see what's working, what's not, right? So I want you to focus on that stuff. And then we're going to continue moving there. We're going to do another 15-minute follow-up session, right? Coaching session to see, if we're hitting what we said we're going to hit and what we can do to get over that, okay? And that is super, super easy. And it's something that you can easily focus on because you can tie it back to their pay, to their compensation. See, if we focus on this, now we can get upon this, right? We can get over this. We can really maximize how much you're making. Just a little bit extra effort and look at how much more you could have unlocked. It is that simple to tie things back to the compensation. But you have to start doing the coaching sessions. You have to start focusing on actually taking time to do the coaching sessions. If you just chuck the pay plan at them and be like, yeah, that's a pay plan, that doesn't mean anything. Worse yet, if the only time they see the pay plan is in the fucking onboarding that's virtual, so they don't get a printed copy of it so that they can actually look. And if you're saying, well, I gave it to them, one, I'm calling bullshit. Two, when's the last time you fucking looked something up on your phone that you saved, screenshotted, and was like, yeah, you continuously go back to it? That is, once again, I am pro-digital, but I understand the shortcomings because of the information age that we live in, of how much information is not just shared, but that we try to grasp. Because if we don't use it right away, it's just going to get pushed back in the timeline, among other things, and we're going to have to fucking find it. And it just makes it so much more difficult to do it. And that's what you need to understand as a leader. You live it. You see it. You should understand the shortcomings of keeping everything digital. So spending time doing things in real time, not digital, not, okay, just jump in and, finish that course or look up the commission plan. Knowing the commission plan is not understanding the commission plan. You have to, as a leader, you have to really internalize that. And I guarantee you, focus on the comp plan. You will instantly see a 10 to 15% bump in the performance of your team. Okay? But you have to be consistent with this. You have to be super consistent with it to make sure your team truly understands it. When I ask my team member or my sellers, hey, what's your goal for the month? And they tell me they want to make $2,500, $3,500, and they can break it down as to what they're going to be focusing on, then I know they understand it. But when they tell me, yeah, I'm going to hit quota, I just know that they know the pay plan, but they don't understand how much they can make. That is the difference in the gap of knowledge. And we have to bridge it, guys. Okay? So go through, spend time coaching, and really breaking down the compensation plan. Make action plans, okay, on the compensation plan. Keep it to just 3 items that you're going to focus on. And ensure that you have a follow-up plan as a leader and that your teams, your sellers, understand how that follow-up will look like, okay, so that they know and can be prepared for it. We don't want to make this a surprise thing. They understand the process. They understand the system. Because once you turn it into a system, Systems are repeatable. Systems are easy to follow, easy to actually stay on top of. And that's what you want to do. Because once you can build systems, you can train others to follow the system. And it makes it super easy to continue forward and be successful as a leader, as a sales leader, as a trainer and developer of other people. Okay? So stop lecturing. Stop telling people to just look at the fucking pay plan. Teach it, drill it, measure it. Make it a super easy training session. It doesn't have to be an hour. You can keep it to 15 to 30 minutes. And honestly, if you're going above 30 minutes, unless it's like the first few times you're doing it with a brand new employee, the first few times you're doing it for yourself, right? You're going over way too much information. Keep it simple, keep it focused, and get them energized. And you'll be surprised how energized they will be, because it is always a simple little tweak that they do because they didn't truly understand the compensation plan. And you'd be surprised how your underperformers would actually become some of your best performing sellers overall. So keep that in mind. Focus on training and developing your people. And that's what you want to do as a leader. Guys, I want to say thank you once again for spending time with me here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.